$1 at this today, so I'm unethically and hate myself for doing it. Squatting around the corner in a Panera where they don't have to see me, at least. So I can charge my phone and maybe calm down. I'm reading the book of Jonah, and I'm doing a personal Bible study. Actually, a book oracle. I just opened it on Jonah 1, so it seemed appropriate, the belly of the whale. A cop threatening to put me in prison. Threatening to put me in prison is the word he said, because I got bad service in a McDonald's and was annoyed about it. If that man knew anything about the way reality worked, the way I spoke to all of these people today, the way I shouted at you on Twitter is absolutely nothing compared to the daily interactions I used to get in a big city gas station. Daily, moment to moment. Every single person for a while there. It actually became this. My last day at work, it literally was every single person. But every single person of a particular persuasion, particular skin color, actually treated me like utter dog shit, raised their voice and shouted at me and threatened me with violence. So that cop thinks that he's going to threaten me with violence. I'm 6 inches taller than he is and have nothing to live for? Anyway, what I'm going through is not what Jonah went through. And so I want to tell you, even through all this, even with all this anger, all this betrayal I feel, God is good. Truly. And so I'm sitting here trying to figure out whether this book is trying to tell me whether because Jonah knew what his sin was, God punished him so immediately, or if maybe I just don't know what my sin is that I'm being punished. It's certainly not arrogance or pride. But I don't know. Maybe I say things like, I am better than you by your metric. I don't consider myself better, but you hear it and maybe that's my sin. Maybe I do have pride. I don't believe I do. So anyway, why I actually opened this is I want to do this because it's Sunday and I actually did go to church today and I saw how prayer was done as an adult. I haven't been in a church since I was a child. I want to talk about how prayer should actually be done. You should not be praying for things for yourself by yourself. You should not be having a one-on-one relationship with God by yourself. You're too small. God won't notice you. He doesn't notice me, he doesn't notice any of us. But when we gather together in a church, it's like ants, right? You don't notice the individual ant. I didn't notice the bee that had gotten trapped under my hip last night, suffocated and died in my sleep. But I would have noticed if it was a whole nest of them. Join a cult. Be smart. Pick a good one. Don't be an atheist. If you're going to be an atheist, just take yourself out of the picture. You don't have to die. Just take yourself off the grid. Just take yourself out of the awareness of other human beings. You're only being an atheist to be problematic for other human beings. So just remove yourself. It's not hard. You don't want to be a part of us, and you don't want to be a part of what makes us great, what makes us human. Then don't. Don't take it from me. And don't put it where I have to see it. Your oppositional defiance is your oppositional defiance, and it's the behavior of a 2-year-old. God isn't your actual parent. God doesn't offer an hourly wage. And God doesn't care about us individually. He only cares about us insofar as we're doing what He wants. And so I walked into a church today on a whim, right as 2 minutes before they opened the service, and I met the magic lady and the preacher of that church right before they went on, and he challenged me to go sit in the front row, and I panicked because I'm so tall. And I didn't want I just didn't want everybody staring at me. It was a powerful experience. The sermon he had planned was about accepting strangers into your midst. And so he told a story about a poor man who couldn't find a seat. So he just sat in the middle of the aisle. I'll sit in the front row next week. I just wept. I spent the whole sermon in just tears. It was so beautiful. It was like I had been called to be there. I looked up and I saw that the sermon started at 9:30, and I was like, well, I'm right across the street. What time is it? 9:25. That's a message. Go. And then his planned sermon was about inclusion and treating everybody the same, no matter what, no matter rich, no matter poor, white, black, no matter what. And I have just been excluded from everything my whole life. And all I wanted was to get out of there without anybody noticing me, because I'm homeless. And the woman I sat down next to left because I'm homeless and she didn't want to be around me. Not because I stink, just because she thinks she's better than me. She thinks it brings her down to be near Jesus. Jesus didn't even wear sandals. But he called my name. I was trying so hard not to catch his eye and just sneak out the door, but he said my name. Bothered to remember my name. You don't know how humanizing that is when nobody's said your real name in years. Nobody's affectionately used my real name out loud in years. And he sought out my hand and he asked me to come back. What an advocate for God's house. And so anyway, they had a welcome gift. It was a bag of microwave popcorn and a coupon for a Fandango at home movie that I can't spend and won't spend, so I have a $15 coupon if you want to trade me for a sandwich or something. But he spoke for about an hour about kindness, and he was just everything that I've been saying into this microphone all week. He said in a different language. He read James. I think it was James 1, chapter 2, and it was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. And yeah, I'm overcome. Overcome with emotion. I'm so angry. I did nothing wrong. And I'm gonna need you to leave. Absolutely, no, you're not. You don't get to play manager on duty now when I asked to speak to the manager on duty and you sent me someone else. That's not how that works. I know the rules. That's what I told that cop. That's what I told that chief of police. I know the rules. I am allowed to stand my ground. And if you threaten me with violence like the woman beside me did, like the cop did, I'm allowed to defend myself. This is Ohio. We are a castle state, a stand your ground state. If I wanted to, I was allowed to pull out a gun and blow that girl away right in her face. And he doesn't get to lie to me and say that I didn't. And so in attempting to lie to me, what he's actually doing is breaking the law. You're not allowed to withhold my rights from me. You're not allowed to tell me that the law says something that the law doesn't say as a cop. All of those conversations I had today were on camera, on microphone, and I was on the phone with a manager of Walmart when that cop accosted me and started all that shit. And she stayed on the line, and I thanked her. And when I talked to my McDonald's corporate tomorrow, her name was Tammy, and I'm gonna tell him, Tammy, help me. She talked me down when I was seriously gonna put my hands on that Casey boy. Next time he gives me that look, I don't care where we are, I'll put my hands on him. I'll drag him around the corner. I'll beat him until he's bent and broken and there's nothing left straight in him at all. And you don't understand. I'm not afraid of prison. Do you think jail, prison, or record are so bad? Your life is instantly better when you do jail time. Instantly better. People take you seriously, for instance. You make more money. You get paid better because the corporation that you work for doesn't actually take that money out of their payroll, so they don't give a fuck what they're paying. The government will pay you anything if you're willing to get a job with a criminal record. And do you really think, cop, judge, anyone in this world, that 3 hots in a cot is inferior to the life that I'm going to live in a tent in Ohio during the winter? You have to be stupid. This city is intentionally driving me to crime, and by threatening me, they're justifying me doing it. I'll get away with it. If I put my hands on that cop, he'd be paying me. He'd be paying me for his hospital stay. You understand that? Do you understand the climate that we live in? Do you understand that if Kamala Harris wins, I only get to do more of this heinous behavior in public? Do you get that? Are you prepared for this world? Because I know you're not. And so what I want to tell you is the proper way to pray, because you're not prepared for this world. And if you're spending your time alone, you're doing it wrong. If you're worshiping alone, you're doing it wrong. If you're thinking big thoughts alone, you're doing it wrong. If you're talking them to yourself, you're doing it wrong. And if you're talking to people who aren't going, I don't know if that's what I've heard elsewhere, you're doing it wrong. Fix that immediately. Join a cult. Join a church, even if it's a cult church. And you don't have to stay. You don't owe them anything after your tithe. What you are owed is a relationship with God and a community that accepts you. And if they can't, shake the dust from your feet and keep your peace. They assaulted me in that McDonald's. That's what I kept saying to that cop before he wanted to get me real mad by touching me. I don't understand who you think you are. You don't get to kick me out of here. She doesn't get to kick me out of here. I am not, in fact, trespassing. And she didn't ask me to leave. She said, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And I said, no, you're not, because you don't get to ask me to leave. I know exactly how this works. I worked restaurants for 20 years. I managed inner city restaurants for 10 years. I know exactly what corporate's going to do. And if corporate doesn't do it, I'm coming after corporate too. You better believe I'm going to leverage everything I can to get exactly as much money out of this as I can. You think I'm not allowed to? What, the only black people are allowed to sue their state for discrimination? Fuck you. The first people who did it were poor white men. It's precedent because of poor white men, because this world treats us like absolute garbage. Well, I'm fighting back. Jesus fought back. Jesus fought back. Jesus didn't bring peace. Jesus brought a sword. Jesus ruined everything for everyone, except for the poor. Well, here I go. I'm setting precedents again. Either join me or don't. But this following me and not watching my work has to end.